Good afternoon, Melanie. I just want to thank you for interviewing with us today. I have a few questions to ask you. And I want to start off, first of all, with, do you know what the term ableism means?
I do know. Ableism is discrimination against disabled people.
Had you heard the term ableism prior to this interview?
I have heard variations of it. The word ableism is new for me to know.
Okay, very good. What are your career goals, Melanie?
My career goals are I want to become an educational interpreter. And I want to work with deaf students that are elementary age or middle school. That way I can have that relationship all the way through high school.
Okay, why did you choose this career?
I actually have a cousin who's deaf, and we grew up together. So I learned sign language with her, and I've always felt compassionate towards her, and I've always felt influenced from her because her attitude towards life is just wonderful. She doesn't feel like she's missing something because she can't hear, and that for me is just amazing.
Great. How do you feel you affect the people you work with, as well as how do they feel about you?
I feel like I am there for service for them. I think that it's fair for that deaf student or just a deaf person in the community that needs an interpreter to have the right to communication, to have that communication relay that they need, to have a normal conversation with someone, or to have access to something like school or a meeting or a doctor's appointment or something like that. And I feel like most deaf people feel appreciative for that. They have an interpreter here that will help them understand what's happening.
Great. Do you think people you work with are discriminated against? And if so, can you give us an example?
Absolutely. I just recently finished an internship that was 11 weeks long, and I worked with a deaf student that was in 6th grade. And the teachers there, I just don't think that they really realized what was happening. Like, they would have a music video up on the computer, and it would have no captions and no lyrics on the screen. And so that student didn't really understand what was happening. And I think maybe they felt like, oh, well, it's music and he can't hear it, so it doesn't matter. But that's not fair. The same with movies. They would show different movies, and they would pick movies that didn't have captions or anything like that. And I would stand next to the TV or the smart board, and I would be signing what they were saying, but the student obviously wants to watch the movie and not watch the interpreter because he wants to see what's happening and all the action that's going on the screen. So that's discrimination against him because he doesn't have full access to everything that's happening.
Okay. Do you think there is a lack of services and or a lack of awareness for the deaf population? And if so, what would you do to change it?
I do believe that. I know I've seen people who just don't know. Like, they feel sorry because they can't hear, and that goes back to my cousin because she doesn't feel like she's missing anything. She has a full life. She's going to college. She is incredibly talented, so she doesn't feel like she deserves that sympathy. So for that reason, I feel like other people don't understand that. They just maybe just don't know, or they haven't had contact with deaf people enough to know that most of them don't feel like they're missing something. So what I would do to change that, I would just have more information so people, like everyday people, can see that, oh, they're not missing something and they're not disabled, they're not unnatural. That's normal for them. They were born that way, or they became deaf later. It doesn't matter. They have a language, they can work, they can have families. It's the same thing. And I feel like if more people knew that, a lot of their ideas would change.
Great. Is there anything else you would like to add to the interview regarding the deaf population, Melanie?
I hope someday that it will be better understood, that they're not, that nothing is wrong with them, nothing needs to be fixed. They just can't hear. They can do everything else that anyone else can. They can drive, they can get married, they can go to college, they can get a good job, they can make money. They're the same, just they can't hear. That's the only thing.
Great. Thank you so much, Melanie.
Thank you.